Thank you. They asked if we could record this, and hopefully that's okay with everybody else as well. That's just for them. Awesome. Just because they're going to be missing out. How is everybody doing?
Good.
Good. Yeah.
Pretty good.
Yeah, I'm Paula, and I'd be better if I could see us all up at the top.
What do you
It's,
see?
it's like half cut off. I can see like Phil's beard. But
Can
not
you grab it and pull it down? Can you pull the window down?
pull the window down.
Is it on your screen? Is it in a window that you can move around on your desktop?
Well, here's the thing. A tech guy taught me how to show it on my TV.
Uh-huh.
Right now I'm in front of my computer and oh, there you all are. Okay.
Great.
A little bit of fiddling, right?
All right.
All right. Today is Stanislavski. But before we, but before we jump into that, yeah, Bella's not able. That's who was not able to join us. I couldn't remember my memory. Bella's not able to join us. I'm not sure if Linda will be joining us. Perhaps they will be. But let's just get started because I'm just going to recap the first little bit anyways, is we're just going to recap last week. And so hopefully if Linda is late, they're just going to jump in anyway. So they're not going to be missing anything new. Yes?
Let me just ask Paula a quick question.
Yeah.
Paula, is there any way for you to move your laptop in front of you so that we see you straight on? Because right now we're seeing the side of you.
Oh, okay. Let's see.
Ah,
I don't know if you could raise it up, but at least we see you straight on now. That's great. Thank you.
Right. Raise it up.
Well, just when you're talking to us, you want to look at the laptop. That way we'll see you straight. We'll
Oh,
see you good when you're trying to talk to us.
okay. How's that?
That's great.
Better.
That's great. Yep.
Okay.
Thank you.
the first thing I wanted to bring up, I was watching a Michael Caine movie the other day, and it just reminded me of the number one important rule that I actually learned from him. And it was one of those like aha moments that completely changed my acting and my ability to act well and better than I did before. He said, and I think it was like an episode of Inside the Actor Studio or something. He said, and he has a fabulous book, by the way. His book on acting is awesome.
Who is it?
Michael Caine. Michael Caine. And he said, acting is reacting. That's literally all it is. You are listening. And how crazy and important is that for playback? It's basically the tenet of what we do, the main thing of what we do. But any acting, any form of acting is reacting. You're reacting to your environment. You're reacting to an objective. You're reacting to a circumstance. You're reacting to an influence, an emotion, an environment, something a character says to you. You're listening. You're responding. That's what acting is. And when you start approaching it from that perspective, instead of waiting for your turn, it completely changes the game. So I want you to start approaching all of your performing when you're acting in a character in the headspace that you're reacting or listening, as opposed to waiting for your turn to perform. Easier said than done, but it's a mindset shift. There's no exercises I can really give you other than the speech I'm giving you right now. It's a mindset shift that I am listening and I'm reacting. So Diandra is telling me to do this thing right now, and I am going to consciously in my head burn it into my brain, burn it into my psyche, and now forever from this point on, I'm always reacting instead of acting. I'm always reacting instead of acting. And that's it. That's literally the most important lesson I've ever been taught in my life. And when I embodied that, when it clicked in, when I just started doing that and just mentally, it started with just mentally doing that in my head over and over again, and then actively listening. And then it started with scripted lines. I'd be listening to scripted lines, and then before I would respond and answer with my line, I would just react to the line instead. Take a moment. So try that when you're doing your practice, when you're in your playback rehearsals, or you're working with your companies. Someone gives you an offer. Instead of jumping in right away, take a moment. Accept the offer. Accept the offer. So what would that look like? I don't know, right? So if I were to hand you this paper, accept the paper first instead of just taking it. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's a mindset shift, and it's so subtle, just like the same way we were going through the breathing and the centers. It's so small, but it's such a huge thing that it makes an incredible amount of difference in your performance. You can really see the difference between an authentic moment that just happens. And yeah, I wanted to bring that up because I just got reminded when I was watching something with him in it. I can't remember what it was over this past week. And just that lesson stuck with me over the last 20 something years. And when I finally clued into it and got it, I was like, oh, that's it. That's what acting is. It's reacting. So that's my little Michael Caine speech. All right. Yes.
How do you spell Michael's last name?
C-A-I-N-E.
I'm sorry, what?
C-A-I-N-E. Sir Michael Caine.
Not a lot of people know that.
Yeah. Michael
That's what
Caine.
he's famous for saying.
Wait a minute. Yeah, okay, I'm sorry. Are you fucking with me? E-A-N-I-E?
C. C as in Charlie. C as in Charlie. A-I-N-E.
Okay, gotcha. Thank you.
Sir Michael Caine. Awesome.
Diandra, can I share something that came up for me when you were saying accept versus take? I was thinking about a gift. If somebody gives us a gift, we definitely are going to accept that, not just take it. And thinking about the offer as a gift. And anyway, I just wanted to share that in case that helps.
That's actually a really lovely way to think of it too, you know, especially in the context of playback, where the stories, it's such a gift to have these tellers come and bare their souls and tell us these really, really, sometimes really deep and really raw parts of their lives and share this with us. It is a gift. And to have that, even that, just that mental thinking, it changes the vibe of the entire place. It just changes the vibe of you. It changes just the energy of the entire thing. And I think it just creates this atmosphere that's just, I think, just very necessary. And it allows you, I think, to really get into that space of where you can be more authentic and be more in tune with the teller. So thank you for sharing that, Andy. That's lovely. Thank you. All right, let's do a little bit of a rehash of last week, Mr. Chekhov here. The expansion and contraction, opening, close states, remembering how just even the simplest of changes with our body position can really help motivate and change our moods and emotions. All right, so let's take a moment. You could be seated, you could be standing. I'm just going to do the seated for now. Expand your posture, just feeling that motion, just feeling yourself in your body.
Alex?
Feeling the way that feels.
Alex?
Emotional state that it puts you in.
Hey, Alex, it's Paula.
Just gonna mute for a sec here.
Can you mute? Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Just feeling the expansion, feeling what kind of emotional state it puts you in, and don't forget the breath. We're just going through just a quick revision. We're not going for an Oscar here right now. And then moving just quickly into the contraction. Just reminding ourselves of what contraction can feel like, what it can do, how it can feel, what kind of emotional states it can bring up. Sadness, isolation, what kind of characters can come from it. How just even as simple of just caving in your chest just a little bit can maybe even bring sadness in. Automatically change the breathing patterns. And then just let that go. It's a very, very quick overview. Radiating centers. Radiating centers. Take a deep breath, bringing the motion into your heart center, radiating into your heart. Let's start with love. That's the easy one for me anyways. Radiating from your chest, feeling your heart center. Breathing that in, feeling it into your heart center, and then letting it beam straight out. For me, it works if I visualize it actually beaming out like a color, like beautiful pink or red love coming straight out of my chest. Beaming it out from your chest. Beaming out love, kindness, compassion. And then letting that go with the breath. Then your pelvis, your stomach area. Strength, grounding. Breathing into that area, radiating from that center. It can also be anger. It can be violence. It can be passion. It can be lust. Breathing into that center. Feeling yourself rooted into that center. Reminding yourself of that center. Breathe into it for a minute and then radiate from it. Whatever emotion is most prevalent for you in your pelvis right now, just breathe into it and radiate from it. Just reminding yourself of the center at the moment. Just reminding yourself. And with a breath, let that go. And then moving to your head, top of your head, the intellect, the thoughts. You have the greatest idea in the world. Logic. Breathing into the center of your head. Like a beam shooting straight up. That's what I imagine. It makes me stand straighter. It makes me stand taller. Radiate from your head center. Breathe with the emotion into that. And let it reflect on your face. Just remind yourself that it's there. Remind yourself that it's there. So all you're doing is you're reminding yourself it's there. Just a quick little warm-up. Now just quickly, psychological gesture. Psychological gesture, whatever you're sitting with right now, let it go, let go of the head center. Just come back to neutral, come back to your breath. Whatever you're sitting with right now, taking a nice deep breath, and just let that emotion of whatever you're sitting with right now, whatever you're working with right now as you yourself, breathe that in, breathe that into your body. Breathe it into your body and choose a center to associate whatever it is that you are sitting with right now. So if you're sitting with peace, if you're sitting with anger, if you're sitting with happiness, whatever it is you're sitting with, just bring it to the center and breathe it in. And then I want you to think of a gesture that will amplify that. If it's anger, maybe it's a raised fist. If it's happiness, maybe it's your hands up. If it's sadness, maybe it's your hand over your heart. And when you're ready, breathe in and use that gesture and towards the camera. Use your gesture to amplify your emotion that you're feeling right now. And breathe that in. And then take a deep breath and drop even further into that emotion. Drop a level even deeper. Allow yourself to radiate from your center even deeper. Allow yourself to move even more a little bit with that gesture. Experiment a little bit. Nice. And when you're satisfied, breathe it out and let it go. Don't forget to keep working on those. Now we're going to move into the work today. So let's just start by centering ourselves into that work with a breath, with our breath and body. Like always, I like to cleanse ourselves, relax ourselves, release ourselves. So close your eyes or soften your gaze if you'd like. Let's do the body scan. I like to start that way all the time, because if you don't know if you're in neutral, then you can't actually turn yourself into something else, right? Let's get into the neutral body, whether you're seated or standing. Find the floor, raise your toes up and let them fall down. Feel all the points of your feet touch the floor. Take a nice deep breath in through your nose. Let it swell down to your belly and out your mouth. And let's find the neutral body. Starting with the body scan at the top of your head, release any tension. Moving down, forehead. Release your tension. Let go of your thoughts. Any thoughts that might be troubling you from the day, your week, let them go. Relax your ears. Relax your jaw. Is your tongue touching the roof of your mouth? If it is, let it go. Your neck. Just relax. It's a thought. It's just a thought. Your shoulders. Do they feel even to you? And if they don't, adjust them. And are they touching your ears? And if they are, let them drop. Drop them with a breath. It's like I know what's going on. A little shake too. Relax your upper arms and your elbows. Relax your chest. Give your heart a break. It's been working hard. Feel your breath go down into the belly where it belongs. Relax your belly. Just let it go. Let your belly go. You don't have to suck it in. Let it go. Let it go. Relax your hips. They've been carrying you. Let them be free. Shake them out a little bit. Lots of emotion is in there. Lots of tension. Let them go. Relax your thighs and your knees, your poor knees, always working, always keeping us upright. Loose and relaxed. Your calves supporting us. Relax your ankles, and finally, your feet supported, touching the ground. Pick your toes up again and make sure that your feet are completely touching the ground. Nice deep breath in from the top of your head all the way down to your feet. And feel your body completely in neutral. Hold the breath in for 2 breaths or 2 counts, and then exhale. Reflect on where you are right now. And if you are still feeling anything residual, let it go. Try and truly allow yourself to be neutral. Try and truly allow yourself to be in a mode of receptiveness so that you can receive and react. All right. Shake it off. Okay, here we go. We are going to launch into something called given circumstances and emotional memory. All right. This is a little bit, some of the stuff I'm going to do is a little bit theory heavy. it's a little more talky because it's a lot about connecting. This class will be a lot about connecting our own personal experiences and translating those into and relating those into our acting, as opposed to we were kind of breathing in and using our body as cues to convey the emotion. This class now we're actually going to get in touch with our own personal experiences and doing a lot of reflecting in order to connect those so that we have that ability to go back and be like, that's what sadness is like because I experience sadness in this way, instead of tricking my body into being sad. So the first class was tricking my body into being sad by moving my body in a certain way, and this part is like making my mind think I'm sad. Okay, I think that's the best way to explain it. All right. So the actual definition of given circumstances is in which the details of the situation help us fully understand and respond to it. So for example, in playback theater, we respond to real stories and we need to quickly be able to grasp these details that are essential. And so also to working with emotional memory and being able to draw upon various different memories. So there are only a handful of emotions, honestly, right? There's like happy, sad, angry, and there's variances in between them. Even though people's experiences differ, the core emotions are all the same. And this is where we can relate to our own experiences. Even though our experiences are not quite the same, sometimes the given circumstances are. And so we can relate to our own emotional memory from certain circumstances to be able to apply it to something that we're hearing in order to be able to find the ability to find that emotion. Am I making any sense? Cool. If at any time I'm like, she's going in this tangent I don't get, please stop me, okay? So I want us to take a moment just to remember a personal experience with a strong emotional impact, all right? So just take a moment just to think about something, anything that just comes to you right away that has a strong emotional impact for you from your own personal life. Just take a moment to think about it. And close your eyes. Once again, this is a very internal work right now. Close your eyes. I want you to go there. And I want you to really think about every aspect of that memory. I want you to think about the smells, the sounds, the sensations of it, how you were feeling. Take the next moment and really send yourself there. Fully go there. Trust your own self and fully go there. Fully go back into that moment. Breathe it in. What time of day was it? What did the clothing feel like that you were wearing? What did the air smell like? Breathe it in and hold it. And once you have it, assign an emotion to it. What were you feeling in that moment? Ask yourself this. And how did your body respond in that moment? Think of how you were standing or sitting or walking. What was your body like? Just take a couple more minutes to really immerse yourself in it. And when you feel like you've really gotten that, just open your eyes again when you've gone there. And I'm going to ask if any of you are comfortable with sharing that moment that you went to. If anybody is comfortable with sharing the moment, and if you were able to go there, and if it felt real for you, and what came up for you when you did that.
Hmm.
Jonathan?
Sure. I remembered when I was 22, I was sitting at the kitchen table, and my father, well, you'll see. My father came out of the bathroom with shaving cream on his face, and in his shorts, and said, "John, is Helene in Colorado?" And I said, "Yes, she was my girlfriend." And he said, "She's been murdered." And I remember the look on his face, just the look of stunned. And I said, "No, no, no." And my mother came in, and she, and I remember putting my arms around her. So, and it goes on from there, but the feeling was shock and grief, came on very quickly, um, because I knew it was true, even though I was saying no. And so in just going through this process right now, I, my body was in the kitchen, and then in the dining room where I met my parents, and then out the front door, which was the next place I went. And I very much felt it in my body.
Thank you, Jonathan.
Sure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's a hard one. That's a tough one.
Yeah.
Get out together.
Hmm.
Whew. I felt that. Thank you. Paula, please. You're muted. Paula, you're muted. Paula, you have to unmute yourself.
Hello? Can you hear me? Yes, it's good? Okay. So, maybe it's easiest for me to go into back to trauma, but I went into this memory of being 4 years old and standing in this roundabout in Helsinki, Finland, where there were several streets coming like arteries in towards the roundabout. And I was in there all along because I was well, that doesn't matter. But I looked up and I saw this row of Russian tanks coming toward me. And so I quickly turned away from that street. But when I looked at the next street, they were there also. And I was trying to be invisible, but kept turning clockwise to try to get away from these tanks. And I couldn't. I mean, it turns out they were just doing maneuvers, but at 4, I didn't know that. Thought they were all coming at me to get me. And even as I tell you this, I can feel it in my throat and my chest. And I'm trying not to be seen, because if they can't see me, then they can't hurt me. So
Thank you. Difficult. Thank you so much for sharing that. Breathing that one out too, holding it in a place of honor, and then letting it go as well. Would anyone else like to share? I'll share mine. Mine is a joyous one, actually. I was born in Jamaica, and I immigrated to Canada when I was like 6. That I can't remember exactly how old I was. I had never seen snow before, and neither had my father. And the memory that I chose was the first time we'd seen snow together. We were in our apartment building, and we looked out the window, and the snow was falling, and it was coming down really, really heavy. And we both got excited. And I mean, we didn't have proper gloves. We didn't have proper anything, but it didn't matter. We were just so excited. And he said, let's go outside and build a snowman. So we ran outside. We ran down the stairs. We actually ran down the stairs, not the elevator. Ran down the stairs, went outside, launched ourselves into the snow. I was absolutely freezing. I didn't care. I remember it all. It was cold. It was wet. And we didn't know how to make a snowman because we didn't know how to make snowballs. You know, you're from Jamaica. You don't know, right? You don't know that you have to make the snowball and roll it and, you know, turn it into a bigger snowball. So we just started piling, and it wasn't looking like a snowman. So we decided, because we immigrated to Toronto, to make a CN Tower, because we were able to kind of stack it in this weird shape. And I just vividly remember the absolute joy on my father's face of being able to build that, and just the reflection back, and just my exuberance and jubilation. And it's just this lightness and this, even though I was freezing, and even though I was wet, and even though I had no idea what I was doing, it was just this amazing moment that seemed to last forever and last for only a second. And that's my memory. Anyone else have anything to share? And you can see that there's these moments that when we think about our own moments, when we think about the things that we've personally gone through, how we can see that there's the closing of the throat, or the exuberance and lightness of the childhood, like the childlike glee. Even if in the adult, like if I was playing my own father, for example, in that story, just even the exuberance, the openness, the expansion, and the authenticity in that. And these are things you can see as a teller is telling as well. So watching Jonathan share his experience and watching Paula share her experience, you could see as well, as they were telling, the different things starting to come up physically for them. And these are things that we as playback actors as well, when we're watching this, we breathe it in. We breathe it in as we become more attuned, breathe it in and bring it into our centers. And as we're listening to the story, we can bring in into the throat and have it close and start to collapse ourselves in and want to hide. We can feel the shock. We can feel the joy. We can feel the exuberance as we're listening and breathing and reacting to the stories of the tellers. And we can do that as well with even thinking about our own personal stories and emotional memories. Any questions about that? We're covering a lot of stuff that sometimes people studies for years in like minutes, by the way. Andy, yes?
My question is, on the back of Jonathan and Paula's story, I was holding so much emotion myself, hearing that. And still, actually, it's difficult to shake. So what are some tips for quickly getting back to that neutral and not, I mean, we want to empathize and have that felt emotion, and yet we still need to be resourceful in the moment to be of service. So yeah, how to strike that balance?
Thank you for asking that, actually. That's an excellent question. What works for me, and it may not work for you, so I encourage you to perhaps do your own research as well to find things that work for you. But what works for me is, well, first of all, the ritual of giving back. I make sure to give it back. So even on Zoom, as I was listening to Jonathan, as I was listening to Paula, I breathe in their story, I breathe it out, and I give it back. I've also trained myself in the act of the breath. Remember I told you in the first class, this girl's gonna go on and talk about breathing all day long, all the time. The act of breath is both a filling and a cleansing thing for me. As an actor, I see myself as literally a vessel for the character. I imagine myself as a container that can be filled with a character, filled with an emotion, filled with a story. When I breathe in and become a neutral body, I literally empty myself. And so I have trained myself to mentally breathe it in, hold the breath in, honor it, and then let it go with the breath. Now, if that doesn't work, if that honestly doesn't work and you still can't shake it, you get up and you shake. You bounce on your heels. Shake your hands. Turn away and do a very vigorous shake. Do a bend. Open your chest. If it's a very sad story where you're holding like the pain of the teller in your chest, like actually stretch your chest open. Exhale just for a second as you're going back to the line or going back to your boxes or going back to your space. If you need to actually physically, that's like my last resort. If it's really, really hard, you may see me go like just like a big just release. And so that's where like my helping stops, and you may have to find what works for you to help it come out of your body. But doing those kind of things to actually like physically move, shake, tilt your head, release, stim, those will help you actually move it. But I can do it by my body as the vessel. I give it back. I honor the story. I breathe it in, and then I let it go.
Thank
Like I
you.
said-
And are you giving back after you've done the acting, presumably?
But sometimes as well, even after there'll be like a small debrief, I'll do it again. And it's just a thing that's it's my own personal ritual, you know? We formally give it back. So after we finish, our fluid sculpture, whatever, we're done, we dissolve. And I give it back to Jonathan. He's over here for me. So I give it back to him. And then I stand back, and sometimes there's a little bit of a debrief, right? With the teller or the person. And if I'm still holding it, I'm still breathing with them until we actually step away from them. And even then, maybe I'll just still breathe it out, But I encourage you, if you're still holding it, Andy, stand up, do a little shake.
Thank you.
Change your body position. Mary Elizabeth?
Yeah, say a little bit more about this term, give it back. What exactly do you mean by that?
I'm not sure if every troupe does it. The two companies that I have been involved in do it. Give it back is after we finish doing a fluid sculpture or a story or a tableau or whatever we've done for the teller. You hold it in a freeze, and when you're done, we acknowledge the teller by looking at them.
Right.
Before we go back into our neutral. So that's what we mean by give it back.
That moment, that energetic moment, that pause.
Correct. Oh, that was my cat. Jonathan, you had something before.
Yeah. It was about emotional memories. So I make a distinction between professional theater / community theater and in the moment improvisational or playback theater. And I was just thinking about that, about the study or the preparation that might go into playing, I don't know, a Shakespearean role or something, versus when you, for example, did your snow story memory. I was accessing an emotional memory and I didn't even know it. But what I did to connect was I breathed it in, but I was out there in the snow with you and your dad. I was playing with the snow. And it was happening for me at the same time. Then it was only after you were finished, I started reflecting, have I ever had an experience like that? And yes, of course, I did. Not exactly like yours, but of running out into the snow and having like an exciting, exhilarating experience that felt completely new. Um, and so if I needed to play that role in the future, I could access that emotional memory that way too.
And that's how the given circumstances emotional memory worked. My cat is going nuts today. Jesus. That's how we can, she's like just attacking me. That's how she's black though, you can't see her. That's how they work hand in hand, because even though you've experienced that, and even though it wasn't the exact same memory, it was. You understand it. You know, it was something you can relate to it. There are going to be times, though, where we come down to an experience where we can't relate. Someone who tells a story of being in a war, and we've never been in a war. The terror of having a gun pointed at you, and you've never had that happen to you before. So what do you do in that instance? And this is just something, that I just thought of randomly. Well, then we access the emotion. We access the emotion. We breathe in the emotion. We listen to the emotion, we go to the emotion, we radiate from the center of the emotion. We play the emotion with its supreme authenticity instead of the circumstance. So if we don't know what the gun smells like or what it looks like in front of us, we can relate to the circumstance of being afraid, of having fear, breathing that in. So play what is the most authentic part of that story to you. Instead of trying to play the gun is in my face, play the fear. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
And this is, somebody had actually posed a question. I don't remember who sent me an email to define, maybe it was in the class, tomorrow's class, but it doesn't matter. I'll bring it up anyways. I brought up the term playback acting. And this is sort of an example of that. For me, playback acting would be playing the gun is in my face and I'm afraid, instead of just playing the fear of what's happening and being in the fear, this total and complete fear, of which we can all relate to on some level. And then you breathe it in even further. Maybe you've never had a gun in your face, okay, but you can imagine how scary that'll be. Oh, we could go there. We could probably imagine how terrifying that is. Now, breathe in the most fear that you've ever been in, and then maybe amplify that, right? But just stay true in that fear, and don't play the gun. Play the fear. That's how I would work that. Start approaching things in that way to stay authentic, to stay true to what's happening, so that you're not making stuff up. You're not making. Yes.
Could I venture another example very briefly? And Paula, this is with respect to you. So with all respect, and your story was really stunning to me in terms of its unusual for me context, and this vision of a 4-year-old in a roundabout with tanks on all sides was absolutely bonkers. I mean, just and scary as hell. But I was just thinking just now as we were talking about, I have nothing that's a parallel experience to that. But if I wanted to access anything vaguely analogous, when I was a very young child, I was left in the middle of a shopping mall and did not know where my mother was. And that's not the same thing, but I could use that to have the sense of 360-degree disorientation and threat and fear, and then I could bring in more fear from another experience that I had as a child. And this could all happen very quickly. It's not that much of a a study or anything. So I just wanted to play off what you were saying, Deandra, about if we're having to access an emotion and yet we haven't had anything like that experience.
Thank you, Jonathan. And you know what's really cool about actual Paula's story is we can access it on a couple different levels, right? So the first level is that she's 4 years old. So we can go down to that level of being in the space of a 4-year-old. So how does a 4-year-old view the world? How can you authentically play a 4-year-old? And that starts in the body, right? So breathing into a 4-year-old's body. Let's all just try this, right? How does a 4-year-old hold themselves authentically? So let's not do character. And Paul, I hope you don't mind if we're playing you at 4 right now here. But let's just play with this concept. I really like this and running with this right now. How do we play a 4-year-old authentically without turning it into a caricature? So and we're going to take some time with this here. How does a 4-year-old stand? What's the concept of a 4-year-old's body, right? So we kind of touched upon this last week with Chekhov, is like the imaginary body. A 4-year-old, they don't have tension. They don't have stress. They don't pay mortgages or bills. So they don't have neck stress. They don't have like stress or tension in their, my camera's going crazy. They don't have stress or tension in their shoulders. Their head's kind of wobbly. So right away, their breath is loose. Their belly is out. They don't care. So authentically playing a child right away isn't about being blah, 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 but it is a very loose, relaxed body. That's number one. It's about seeing the world on a different level too, on a lower level. So you're always kind of looking up, right? You're small. I've never met a tall 4-year-old, so they're always kind of looking up at things. The world is much bigger than they are. So authentically, you're always looking up. And some things are actually new to them. And this could be a newness that is both frightening and exciting. But things are new to them. So that's the first layer of accurately portraying a young person. And then in the voice, some 4-year-olds are loud. So you don't have to make your voice like a baby voice. You don't have to do that. But if you go to the body and your face is up and you're looking up, you automatically kind of just like your voice changes a little bit. You can just say a few words if you want to yourself, if you want just to hear it. When you're loose and your belly's hanging, your voice changes automatically. It just happens, and it's so authentic. Exactly. There's an authenticity to it. And now imagine being afraid. And you are so small, and that thing that you're seeing is so big, and you want to hide. That's the next level of this story, right? It's the next layer of the story. So how does a child react to that? So there's the fight, flight, and freeze. Sometimes they just want to disappear. They want to hide. And how does a 4-year-old hide? Have you ever seen a 4-year-old hide? Sometimes they just literally look down. Mm-hmm. And that's all it takes. They're not looking up anymore. They're not looking at the world. They're not looking out to learn the world anymore. They're looking down now. And sometimes that's all it takes to feel authentic in this moment. And then breathe into that. Collapse the chest. Remember, collapsing the chest, collapsing into the breath. And feeling that inside you. And then when you're ready, you let that go. Let that go. You stand back into neutral. And this is part of the exercise as well. Find your neutral again. Find your shoulders being straight. Stand tall. Your pelvis aligned as much as possible. Relax everything again, and deep breath in and out. That's part of the work. That's part of the work. I was speaking with a film director the other day, and he hates actors who do method acting. He's like, when they can't let it go, it shows a weak actor, you know? So just being able to let it go, going back to the neutral body, and being able to take on the next role after acknowledging the talent, giving it back. So doing that little brief experimentation with being in a youthful body, how did that feel? How did that feel for you guys?
I could almost go there.
Yeah, could you feel a difference than trying to be a kid? Like, was there a difference? Yeah? Okay. I'd like to try it now with being elderly. Being elderly. This one is a challenge. I actually have quite a few shows about aging coming up, which is ironic. A lot of senior shows coming up. I'm not sure why. How do we play elderly? So actually, I want to ask everybody here in this room, how do we play? I don't want to tell you. So how do we play elderly? How do we do it? How do we do it naturally? Let's work together.
I get out of bed in the morning.
No, but how do we play it authentically on stage? Like, how would we show that without making a caricature of an elderly person? How do we do that in the subtle ways?
Feeling the back tension in your back and just pain in different parts of your body.
It starts with there's more tension than a child.
Joints.
Yeah.
Joints.
There's more here. Okay. I'll give you the hints. It's more up here because they've lived longer. So there's more going on up here. Whereas a child is loose and they haven't had time to be worried about anything. This person's lived a little longer, right? So sometimes you'll even notice the neck is a little forward and the shoulders are a little up. Okay? It's very subtle. But we can exaggerate it a little bit right now just to feel what it feels like. The neck is a little forward, the shoulders a little up and back. And that automatically sends your breath up in here, to a place up in here, where you don't feel as loose, you don't feel as free. You feel a little tighter up here. And you move slower. Your knees don't bend as loosely as a child's. So you're gonna move a little more locked. You know, you don't have to force it. Just move a little more stiffly. But just even feeling the breath up here, I can even feel a little bit less patience for stuff, you know? Just having my neck and my shoulders just like this and feeling the breath come here now. It sends me to an emotional place of where I'm less like, whoo, you know, I'm less free, I'm less joyous. There's a little bit more going on here. And so that's something that you can play. Not every older person is like that. Some of them are very agile, very loose. Some of them are very youthful. So you'd have to watch very carefully. But I do notice that depending on it, it's just there's more weight in the shoulder, more world in the back here, like they're carrying the world in their backs and their heads. So just thinking about that. Just small, subtle things like that. All right, so we've covered all this. I just want to cover something else. Now we've talked about that. I talked about like imagining a scenario that if, you know, someone is pointing a gun in your face, but you've never had that to play the fear instead of playing the gun. Now, one of the things that Stanislavski actually teaches is the concept of the magic if, which goes completely against what I just told you. But we're going to cover that too, because it is helpful. Because even though I said, play the fear, don't play the gun, it's still useful to imagine if I was in that situation. Because if I was in that situation, what would my fear level be? Even though I've never had a gun in my face, what would my fear level be? And so I need to imagine that. All right.
That was my question about when you're doing this work, how do you actually match the level to the situation without overblowing it or it becoming a caricature?
That's also where I rely on the conductor to help me too. A good conductor will ask the teller, sometimes they'll ask something like, I'm not a conductor, so I'm just kind of, please forgive me if I'm saying anything out of turn. But a good conductor will often say, on a scale of 1 to 10, how scared were you? Have you ever been this scared before? Like, a good conductor will probe a little bit to give us some of the clues that we need.
So you don't underplay or overplay it.
Well, you hope. But also too, if you're actively listening and you're breathing with the teller and you're locked in, you can get it. You can often see. And if you are, I have very rarely, and I'm not saying this to pat myself on the back or anything, but if I go as authentically as possible, if I'm playing the fear instead of playing the gun, I very rarely go too far. I don't think I've ever gone too far if I'm playing the fear and not playing the gun. If I play the gun, I've gone too far. Does that make sense?
Sure.
Let me show you a very terrible example of what I mean.
Okay.
Oh my God, the gun's in my face. Like, you know what I mean? Whereas opposed to being like, let me try and get scared real quick here. Total difference. Total difference. This, oh my God, the gun's in my face, versus what I did, breathing in the fear, total difference. You can see the difference, right?
And the person with the gun would be like, I don't believe you.
Right.
Don't do this. I don't believe you. You're not
right.
scared.
Right. You can see I went, I don't know if I can do it again. Breathe it in. Looked at it. I'm looking at it.
Right.
I'm looking at it. It's in my face. I'm thinking in my head, don't shoot me, don't shoot me, don't shoot me. I'm looking at it.
Yeah.
That's magic if I'm looking at it in my face. It's in my face. And I'm really scared because I don't want anything to happen to me. I'm looking at it. Difference. There's a difference.
Totally.
That helps.
Yeah.
Oh, but you have to breathe that in and then go visualize it. Send it to your center. That's what I did. I sent it to my heart and my head, just beamed it out. That's how I'm able to go there that fast too. But you have to. Does that make sense?
Yeah. You put yourself in the movie and you had a real experience. I mean, it was an experience, not a gesture.
No, I'm like literally standing there. Like, that's why I close my eyes for a second too, because what I often do, especially before a heavy scene, we often get a beat before we start a playback, at least in my company. If we don't, I'll take a beat. I'll allow myself. But as I'm listening to the teller, it's all beats in my head, right? Sometimes I'll even close my eyes for a second, because as soon as the teller starts speaking, I'm breathing it in, right? So the teller's talking, I'm breathing in the gun, I'm breathing in the gun, I'm breathing it in, I'm breathing it in, but I'm not letting it show on my face yet. I'm breathing it into my heart, I'm breathing it into my heart, I'm breathing into my heart. I'm listening, I'm listening, I'm listening. Then I'm seeing it. I'm seeing the coming into my face, trigger coming back, like I'm seeing the barrel in my face. I'm seeing it in my eye, but I'm listening, I'm listening, I'm listening, I'm listening. Okay, let's watch. And then I just, then I launch into it. That's how I'm able to do it. But the whole time I'm listening, I'm breathing, I'm beaming, I'm doing all the things that I'm showing you guys at the exact same time. I'm imagining the magic if. All right, I'm reading my paper right here, which is right here as well. Okay. Any other questions before we actually launch into this little segment here? I know it, I went into that really easy, and it's easier said than done. I've been doing this for a while, so, but that's what I'm encouraging you. All of the things that I'm showing you are literally the things I do to get to that point of where I can be scared in like 1 second, start crying in 1 second, imagine the gun in my face. So that's what I mean when I say like play the fear, not the gun, or like, what's another example that's completely different? Like happiness, maybe. Happiness can be really subtle. It doesn't have to be, oh my God, I'm so happy. Like, it doesn't have to be like, yeah, like sometimes people just go like this really big thing. I can literally just be standing there beaming. And it's really powerful as well when you are the teller's actor and you're just standing there beaming and everybody else around you is swirling with the fabrics. And you're standing there as the teller's actor in this sea of all this stuff going on around you, which as a supporting actor is really cool. I love to do that when I'm not the teller's actor, add in these extra bits of atmosphere. But if you're standing there and just beaming happiness, like, see if I can do it. I don't know. Just absolutely just beaming happiness and just standing there and just being simple, and just taking it in. Sometimes I'll actually look at the audience in the eyes when I'm beaming happiness and beaming it right to them. That's effective. When you like literally beam out love to people in the audience, you can actually see them get affected. It's so beautiful. And then all this other stuff is happening around you. All these fabrics are swirling around you and everyone else is like filling in the picture behind you and you're just beaming. It can be as simple as that and beautiful like that. Okay, magic if. All right, I'll guide you through a few simple prompts. All right, so let's give this a try. All right, so the magic if, just to give you a quick actual explanation, I realize I sort of skipped over this, is about imagining yourself in a given situation by asking if you were really there, how would you respond? So this will help us experience the moment as if it were real and try and help to deepen the authenticity of the reaction. Okay, so close your eyes and imagine if you are a parent and you're welcoming your child home after a long time, or bringing your baby home for the first time, or seeing your baby born for the first time, how would you respond? What are the emotions tied to that? Where in your center would you beam that experience? What emotions would you breathe in? And what gestures would you use to support that? Welcoming your child home for the first time. Just breathe it in. Just go there for a second. A lot of internal work today. Just feel that love, that pride, Beam it. And then when you feel like you felt it, just let it go. Breathe and come back to yourself. Once again, that's an important part of our practice. Coming back to yourself, coming back to neutral. Okay, let's try another one. You're comforting a friend in distress. What words or gestures might you use? What might feel right in the moment? So this is more of you're a supporting player. So it's almost like you're the, sometimes the teller is the comforting person, but you're comforting a person in distress. So what words or gestures might feel right? Might you use? What emotions might you have? Comforting a person in distress. Just go there. And when you feel you've gone there, let it go. Come back to yourself. And we'll do one final one. You've accomplished something that you were terrified to do. You've accomplished something that you were terrified to do. How do you feel? What's your emotional state? You may not be proud. You might actually still be scared. Think about it. How do you react after accomplishing something that you were terrified to do? What gestures might you use? What does your body feel like? What is your breath like? And once you feel like you've gotten that, let that go. And come back to yourself. Come back to neutral. Breathing it in, breathing it out, and letting it go. Were you able to go to those scenarios? Did anyone have a hard time imagining scenarios? Does anyone have a hard time imagining scenarios that don't exist? Everyone's okay with doing that?
Yeah.
Sometimes it's harder than others. Some days it's easier than others. But did you have any difficulties going with those specific scenarios? For me, the comforting the friend, I don't know why. That one's challenging for me. That one's challenging for me. Maybe because my character's not the focus. So that's why I think I find that one challenging, but I don't know. What do you guys think?
For me, it's one of those conflicted feelings in that I'm feeling great sadness for my friend, but really appreciating the intimacy that we're experiencing together. And feeling that, and as well as feeling honored that they're allowing me to be there with them in that way.
I love that. Love that. It's a really nice way to look at it. I never looked at it that way. That completely changes the way I would approach that.
I think for me, it's a process of asking, what would I actually do that's authentic, not just what is it supposed to look like, or what should it look like, but what would be an authentic expression, and then letting it change until I actually can sink into something that I can feel connected to.
That's what I want to hear. Yay. You passed. That's perfect.
For me, the one on comforting a friend was also difficult because it brought up these insecurities of like, I don't know what to do. Like, I don't like, it just brought up all these emotional insecurities I was feeling in the moment, trying to comfort this friend.
And you know what? That's authentic. That's authentic. Being insecure about, I don't know what to do for you. I don't know how to help you. Being awkward in your body, being awkward in your breath because you don't know what to do is sometimes the right thing to do, because that's the authentic thing to do. You know, if that's what you're feeling, honor it. Honor it. Thank you for sharing that. That's wonderful. I didn't know either. It's awkward for me too. I'm like, I can cry, I can be scared, but I don't know how to comfort you.
I was trying to like sometimes in a group when someone's across the room, you might do something, to sort of say I'm hearing you or something, but it did, it felt too overt, and I just ended up with, with like looking, just looking, but like I'm calm and I've got me in a way that has got you too, kind of. Um, but it was interesting to like tilt the head, like, we're not an alert, we've got all night kind of. Um, yeah, it was interesting.
It just reminded me of Michael Caine again. Comforting a friend is a reaction. I don't have the friend with me, so maybe that's why I was struggling. But it's a reaction, right? It's literally a reaction. You're reacting to something. So I need to work on that myself. That's a lesson for me. But thank you, Johnny. That actually reminded me of that completely. That literally is a thing about having a reaction to someone, literally. All right, very quickly. I just want to skim over really fast the idea of the objective and super objective, which is the theory for Stanislavski. He teaches that each character has an objective, which is an immediate goal they're pursuing in a moment, and a super objective, which is the overall motivation guiding their actions. So in playback theater, we connect to a character's objective for a moment, and it helps to ground the performance in intention and authenticity. By the way, I can email you guys my notes so you can read this after.
Yeah, that would be helpful
Yeah,
because
oh,
especially like I knew this was important and I'm trying to write it down and you were speaking really fast. So
I'll send
that's
no worries. Might as well share them, right? Funny enough here. So we take a simple character such as someone who's trying to comfort a friend or trying to cheer up a loved one, and we choose an objective for that character such as trying to reassure, encourage. So tying that into this objective or super objective actually helps the previous exercise that we did. So now the objective is we need to assign an objective, which makes that previous exercise a little easier. So I should have probably done this one first. It makes it easier because now if we have an objective we have to reassure them, we have to encourage them, we have to comfort them because they have a specific sadness. We're answering a specific series of questions that will make our action a little easier and more authentic. I should have done this one before that, actually. That would have made it. So I'm just skirting over that really, really quickly because we're running out of time, because there is one thing that I want to go over with you guys really quick before we end.
So what would be a super objective in that case?
So the super objective is the overall motivation that's guiding their actions. So the immediate goal is I want my friend to stop crying, but the super objective is because I love my friend. They are my best friend. I love them. So I want to make sure that they're not hurting. They are very dear to me. My immediate objective is they're hurting in the moment. I want to stop the hurt. But the super objective is that they're very important to me, and I just want to make sure that they're okay on the grander scale,
Thanks.
right? So, gun in the face. Immediate objective is I don't want to die.
To die.
Super objective is I don't want to die because I have so much more to do with my life. Or I start thinking about all these other things that are just much more greater. Do you know what I mean? Like, so it's just like a very simple, like immediate thing, and then the bigger picture that's surrounding it. Does that make sense? So let's come up with another scenario that I could possibly think of really quickly. Let's take my story, for example, going out in the snow. The simple objective was to build a snowman. The greater objective was to experience winter in Canada. The super objective was to experience Canada and time with my father, which, as we've gotten older, I rarely see him now. Like, we rarely see each other. We live on opposite sides of the country. He's so busy, so am I. We never see each other. But that's like one of the rare moments, and like one of the first and very significant moments I can remember spending quality time with him. Cool. All right. This last exercise I would like to sneak in here. Playback scene practice. We're going to try this one out here. Okay. So we're going to practice using the Stanislavski techniques to perform a short playback scene. Try it. See if this works. I don't know if this is going to work, so we're going to try it. But thank you for trusting in me and try this experiment out here. Okay. So I need a storyteller. I need someone to tell a story. And I will conduct it. And then the actors, we are going to play it back as using everything that we have learned so far. Okay? We're going to try and do it. And what I'm going to do is, because this is not going to be like, this is not going to be like a conventional form, if that even exists. I want you just to, in your individual sort of squares, you're all going to be the teller's actor. Because we're all just doing this as practice. So this is not like a conventional playback. Maybe actually, for sake of this, I'll just tell the story, actually. Let me just tell the story and I'll be my own conductor so that you all get an opportunity. I will tell you a very challenging story, actually. Let's tell you a very challenging story about my divorce. I'm going to go there. I was involved with a man for 10 years who was a firefighter who had severe PTSD. And I was not aware that, we lived together. And I wasn't aware that PTSD also holds hands with drug addiction. And for the first 4 years of our relationship, it was wonderful. It was wonderful. I was very happy. He was very supportive of my career. I traveled a lot over the world, and it was great. And then he started disappearing. And it turned out that he had a terrible drug addiction. He was terribly addicted to both heroin and meth, and had been hiding it from me because he was a firefighter and would tell me he was working and he actually wasn't. And that's not something that I would check up on. And it got so bad that he couldn't hide it anymore. And for the next 4 years, I went through absolute hell. Absolutely. Trying to be there for him. And it was difficult. But then one day I stood up and, we went through rehabs, we went through everything. And one day I stood up and said, enough is enough. And I kicked him out. And then he stalked me for 2 years. And I had to get a restraining order. And I had to go to court. And then he tried to sue me. And it just, I'm skirting over the details because they're not important. But what's important is the evolution of my emotions. So what started off was I was really happy. I had thought I'd found a wonderful partner who believed in me, who supported me, who supported my arts. His mother was an actress, so he totally got my weirdness and my eccentricities. And then this just horrible shock and just this desperation and this pleading with myself and with him and the universe over the addiction. The realization that this was not going to work. And then the fighting, the anger, the absolute horridness that literally I kicked him out in 2020 and we finally got divorced 2 months ago. He's finally gone. Finally. And it was absolute hell. Absolute hell. But I have come out of it feeling stronger, more knowledgeable, more intelligent, and ironically better for it. I'm in a better place. I've gone through that. So, a lot. I've given you a lot. This is a journey. I want you to take your time. We've got 8 minutes, 10 minutes. This is a journey. You're each going to do this by yourselves. This is my journey. I encourage you to stand up, sit down, whatever. This can be with gestures. It can be with just your face. But whatever it is, I want you to go on this emotional journey with just you and your camera. And I'll be watching every one of you. The start of the journey is happiness. I found my partner. I found my other half. The second part of the journey is this despair, this dropping out from under me. The bottom drops out. The third part is fighting. Absolute battle. Like, it was gross. The battle was disgusting. I don't even need to go into the details. I'm sure you can understand. It was a nasty fight in court that lasted 5 years and was very expensive. 2, where I am today, standing tall. Standing in a place where I'm actually glad that it happened because it taught me so much about who I am, what I can handle, and what I'm able to do with myself. I feel stronger for it. I actually feel good, really good, like better than I ever have in my entire life. So this journey, all of that. Use every technique that I've shown you, centers, breathing, magic gift, all of it. Take a deep breath in. Take your time. Let's watch. was beautiful work, guys. Thank you so much. There were some beautiful moments. Paula, a moment when you were screaming. It was so real. It was so primal and so amazing. Jonathan, your pacing was I could see the pacing that you were going. It was excellent. Andy, there was a moment you were breathing in and I could just see you going there. And it just felt so authentic. Same with you, Edward. There was just this authenticity. Bill, when you were angry, I was angry like that, and I felt it. I felt it. I felt you guys going there. And Mary, you dedicated yourself to that, and you went there. Thank you, and Johnny, thank you as well. That was beautiful, beautiful work. Let me ask you, how did that feel? Because that was actually quite a lot of emotions that you went through. How did it feel? And I didn't give you a lot of details. I just gave you the sort of hits. How did it feel real quickly before we break?
Felt it very viscerally. So it all came through gestures and my body.
Mm. Like a roller coaster.
I found it easier to access sadness and anger, I think, than the happiness.
There was something really lovely about being the, it felt like being the teller's actor, but having no lines. And that all I had to do is be in it and just do the physical piece of being in relationship physically. And there was something really glorious about that, just the simplicity of it.
And that's one last thing I'm just going to mention really quick. I know we're going over time really fast here. The audience has heard the story. They already heard the whole story in detail. They heard every line, they heard every word. So we don't, as actors, need to replay that word for word. We don't need to be like, and then I did this, and then I did this, and then I went to the store, and then she did this, and then she got divorced, and then like we don't need to do that. But sometimes just being in that moment, and then, so what I like to do is I like to practice like I did there, where I'm just being in the moment, just falling into the authenticity of the moment, just allowing myself to be in the emotions, and then you add in some words, or you allow the musician to add in, or you allow in your fellow players to add in a few key words, or you allow to sprinkle in, just like you sprinkle in the fabrics. You know, you don't need to retell the story in its literal self, in its literal sense. But if you stayed true to the authenticity of the emotions, it's really powerful and really beautiful to watch, and really going there. And then obviously, I mean, we're on Zoom, so we can't really do it, but just don't be afraid to like scream with your anger, squeal with delight, take a nice deep breath in your pride, you know, open your mouth with those things. You can make sounds. They don't have to be words. You can shout in anger and it doesn't have to be fuck you. It can be just ah. And happiness, if you have a hard time accessing happiness, sometimes it's sadness is easy to play sometimes. It's that the comedy is sometimes really hard to do and dramas are easier. And so that's a challenge for us sometimes, but it's literally just the opposite. It's literally just the opposite. So just think of the opposite and put yourself in. And that's just something that we just got to work on a little bit. So if you're finding a difficult emotion, if there's an emotion that you're finding difficulty in accessing, spend some time with emotional memory. Get a journal. Write out some really nice memories. Spend some time in a place that makes you happy. And then sit there like the detective and be like, what does this feel like right now? Like today I was walking my dog really fast. Today I was walking my dog and I looked up at him. He had just played with a puppy and he looked up at me and the sun was hitting his face and his tongue was out and he looked so cute and happy. And I just looked at him for a moment and I just let that burn into my mind. And I hold on to it. Because that's what I do as an actor. That's my work. That's how I study, is I just observe all the time. Any questions? You guys have my email, or if there's any questions right now, let me know.
Oh, just to send us the link. It'll be really interesting to watch what we all did.
Yeah, I will. I'll do that, please. Yeah, I'll get the link. I know Belle wanted to see this class. As always, please send me any questions. I will send you my crazy notes. I hope.
Thank you.
Yeah, they're great. Thank you.
Oh, good, good. And yeah, well, next week for our last class, where we're gonna put everything together and get even deeper. And as always, I'm blessed and honored that you're here. Thank you.
Mm.
Thank you.
Diandra.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, see you soon.
Look forward to
Bye.
next time.
Yep, bye-bye.
Bye.
Diandra, do you, I recorded to the cloud. So are you going to be the one to sign in as
I can do that.
and find it and then send it to people?
Sure, I can do that. I can do
And
that.
you know, you've got the sign in and all that.
I think, yeah, I'm on that email, right? Yeah, I totally am. I can do
Yeah.
that. Thank you so
Okay,
much.
if you have any trouble, just let me know. I'll be happy to hook you up.
I'll figure that out tomorrow.
Okay, great.
Thanks,
Have a
sir.
great week. All right. Beautiful class. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.